Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just said they asked these questions, or they asked questions, just briefly speaking. Why would he mention the actual question and the actual answers? There's a reason for it. And this is what we're going to get to, inshallah.
قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك فافعلوا ما تؤمرون.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inshallah, in this lesson, we're going to be going through the story of the Baqarah, the female cow, the one that Musa Islam commanded Bani Israel to slaughter. And we understand from the story that there was a reluctance. Now, scholars have given kind of a reason that they just wanted to disobey the Prophet. Let's say your father comes to you and says, son, I want you to slaughter a cow for Eid, this Eid. You would try to do it. Even if you had no money, you'd try to borrow the money and do it somehow. You don't want to displease your father. If a prophet told you to slaughter a cow, why not? I mean, is it just because of a money issue? It's not a money issue. The whole qawm was called to do it. And it's just one baqarah, one cow. Is it just disobedience? They just want to go against the Prophet? But that doesn't explain. They actually ended up doing it anyway. So it wasn't they disbelieved or anything. Eventually they did it. So we understand that something is missing in this narrative. We have a few things that are mentioned in these ayat. One of them is the questions being asked by Bani Israel. And scholars traditionally have thought of those questions as just a delay tactic. So you ask enough questions and the matter will go away. And then what they say is that the matter became harder. Initially, any baqarah would have done. So if they slaughtered any cow, it would have been done. But later, the more questions they asked, the harder it became. It got narrowed down to one specific cow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the characteristics of the cow, and in a lot of detail. If it was just based on questions being asked by Bani Israel, then the Quran should have been briefer. Why would it mention these details? Unless there was something intended by it. Obviously, everything mentioned in the Quran is mentioned for a reason. We believe that for certain. And recall when Musa said to his people, indeed, Allah commands you to slaughter a female cow. And then they say, أَتَتَّخِذُونَ هُزْوًا? Do you take us in mockery by saying this? And then the response comes, قَالَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. I seek refuge in Allah from being amongst the ignorant ones. So here, his qawm, قَالُوا. And when we talk about the qawm, we don't talk about every single one of them. The majority, you could say. The ones that are in charge, or even those who the command was directed to. It's very likely that Musa Islam noticed also before this command that they had spent a lot of time with this cow. And I'll explain this later on, inshallah, in this lesson, why they would do that. Then Allah says, قالوا ادعوا لنا ربك. Notice it's Rabbaka, your Rabb. It wasn't our Rabb. Their belief in Allah was lacking. Call upon your Lord and make it clear to us what Baqarah you're talking about. Then Musa says, قال يقول. Allah says. So notice here Allah says in response to أَتَتَّخِذُونَ هُزْوًا? Do you take us in mockery? Are you making fun of us? Allah says that. So Musa says, Allah is saying this. So it's a command, direct command to them, which shows the importance of this. It says here, هي بقرة. It's a cow. لا فارض. Okay, faridun means that it's a cow that's past its prime. So it's lost, for example, its milk. If it was a cow, it lost its milk, and it's getting in advanced age. That's what faridun means. Wala bikrun. A bikrun is a young female. So still hasn't been fertilized by the bull. No milk. It's still in young for that. So it's neither of these. Awan bayna dhalika. So it's somewhere in it's in between, but it says awan. Awan, you could say, is something that has been protected, has been nurtured in the best possible way. It's what you wish all your animals to be like, pretty much. So awan bayna dhalik. This is the Baqarah we're talking about. And what does Musa then say? فَافْعَلُوا مَا تُؤْمَرُونَ. Do as you're commanded. Now, when he said, do as you're commanded, was there sufficient information given to Bani Israel to know which Baqarah it was? Perfectly. So this gives the information that they need. And then they said, قالوا ادع لنا ربك ليبين ما لونها. So now they want to know the loan, the color of it. And so what is important about mentioning the answer to this? So all these questions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just said they asked these questions, or they asked questions, just briefly speaking. Why would he mention the actual question and the actual answers? There's a reason for it. And this is what we're going to get to, inshallah. So, after mentioning that Bani Israel asked for its color, what is the response from Musa alayhi salam? يقول إنها بقرة صفراء. It is a baqarah that is yellow in color. It's bright. It's very radiant, bright color. So it's like almost like a goldish color. تسر الناظرين. It pleases the one who observes it. So it's a very the physical appearance of it is eye-catching. Quite interesting. Because in Egyptian mythology, when we talk about colors, the yellow color, and specifically the golden color, this golden color, represents eternity, divinity. When mummies get mummified and then they're placed in some sort of casket or some, those things they're placed in, they're golden. Why? Because it signifies that they are eternal. So the actual color, it says here, people believed that the skin of the gods were golden and that they drew a power from the mighty Ra. So it's a particular deity who was actually the sun god. Okay, so this color that's mentioned in the Quran about this Baqarah represents deity, a deity. So you might now think what I'm getting at here is that this Baqarah represented a deity that they used to worship back in Egypt. And that was their reluctance. And likely they had probably some attachment to it inside their hearts. And their actions may have even shown this. So this is interesting, this question now that's been asked. They didn't just ask the question now, this time. They've realized they've probably stepped over the mark. They can't get cornered. They know it's coming. And what they say is the same wording, قالوا ادع لنا ربك ليبين لنا ما هي, but then they say إن البقرة. So the cows, all the cows, تشابه علينا. They're all the same to us. وَإِنَّا إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَمُهْتَدُونَ. And we, inshallah, are rightly guided. So they're claiming guidance for themselves. We are guided. So don't think that we just want to get away from it. Don't think that we're guided. Okay, so it shows some deficiency. The extra emphasis of them mentioning those points shows a deficiency in their questions. If you're seriously after the truth, you wouldn't need to mention those things. Like, it's emphasizing that. Then the response is قال إنه يقول. Same thing, يقول. Allah says. So each time they ask the question, Allah tells Musa to tell them that I'm the one saying this. So Allah says this. So this didn't happen just in one sitting. You can see it didn't happen in one sitting. This happened over time. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول. It is a baqarah. Dhalul means that it's being worked and overworked, doing hard labor. So it's not dhalulun. And two things are mentioned: tuthiru al-ard, so it plows the earth, or wala tasqi al-harth, and doesn't water the plants and the farms and all those. Musallamatun, it is free of any deficiency. So when you look at an animal, usually you'll find some sort of deficiency in it. It might have something on its skin, on its, whatever it is. So once again, Allah made this cow almost like a deity for them. It was a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Musallamatun la shi'ata fiha. Shi'a means no patches. So when you have, for example, a cow that has its main color, and then you have patches of it, maybe a lighter or a darker color, it doesn't have this shear. So it's all yellow. So once again, it's a bright golden yellow color the whole way through. So you see the test that Allah gave them there to test their faith. Now they might have thought back in Egypt, because there were deities, and their main form was a cow. There's goddesses. One of the main goddesses, Hathor, is depicted as a cow. And there are, even in the hieroglyphics of her, there's pictures of her giving milk, and there's other deities below her where the milk comes out, and they're getting the milk from her. So very likely, this is who they believed. They probably thought it was her in this form. So if we look at Hathor, let's look at it. She's often depicted as a cow, symbolizing her maternal and celestial aspect. Now, she was a major goddess in ancient Egyptian religion who played a wide variety of roles. As a sky deity, who was the mother of the consort of the sky god Horus and the sun god Ra. So she was one of the main deities. So just imagine that. You believe these things, and then you go to, after the Exodus, you find the cow, and this is how you would probably imagine her form as a cow, and you see this, and it's different from all the other cows, and it gives milk like no other cow. So you see the test that Allah gave them there. And so he tested them with this, and then they're told to slaughter it. What a test. Just to test their iman. And what does Allah say? Let's go to it. فَذَبَحُوهَا. So they slaughtered it. But it doesn't just say فَذَبَحُوهَا. Notice what it said after this. وَمَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. What does that mean? If we were to take it literally, فَذَبَحُوهَا has been omitted. Because we know فَذَبَحُوهَا, they slaughtered it. So we know she was slaughtered. If we take this out and just say وَمَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ, would we think that they slaughtered it? What does مَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ mean? It means that they were not even close to doing it. So in other words, it's saying that they didn't do it. That's what مَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ means, literally. The translation here is, but they could hardly do it. They could hardly do it. That's not a good translation. It means they did not even go near doing it. That's what it means. مَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. So they didn't do it. If it was just that. But the fact that it mentions فَذَبَحُوهَا, this wow here is wow with hal. They did it while they were in a state of thinking that they would never do it. That's what it means. So even while they were killing the cow, they never imagined, they never imagined in their wildest dreams that they could have done it. Because of the love they had for this cow. They had absolutely no idea how they did it, in other words. So it was a big test for them. Okay, so that explains the Baqarah and why it was so important, and the sifat mentioned there. وصلى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.